and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Ed with Professor Chris. I'm still your host, Professor Chris, and the author of Getting the Most Out of Your College Experience. Believe it or not, 2025 is almost done. Finals week is here, and that is going to be the topic for today. Finals week is here. I hope you're all getting ready. As usual, these are my top 5 tips as you get ready for the finals. Let's get right to it. By the way, I hope you're all doing good. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. It was great, and we are just ready for the finals. I can't believe 2025 is almost done. So, my tip number 1 as you get ready for the finals. It's a thin line. Number 1, tip number 1. It's a thin line between A and B and D and F. It's a thin line between A and B and D and F. And the students say, Professor Chris, what do you mean by a thin line? As you probably know, this is the week that most of your instructors, if not every instructor, is going to tell you, by the way, here's some extra credit for you to do. And usually, most students think, oh, it's extra credit. I really don't need to do it. Hint, you have nothing to lose with an extra credit. I don't care if you're getting an A or if, as I speak right now, at this point in the semester, you're probably getting an A. There is nothing wrong with taking advantage of an extra credit. Take it. The other component is a thin line between A and B because that extra credit could probably solidify your A or your B. It's a very thin line. The other component of this thin line between A and B and D and F is this. Class participation. Some classes have class participation as part of the grade. Take advantage. Help your team participating. However, when the finals is done and I see grades that are 79, 89, right? As we all know, 79 is technically a C. 89 is technically a B. When I say there is a thin line between A and B and D and F, this is what I mean, because just like every reasonable instructor that has passion for his students or his students, look at that and say, well, this student got a 78 to a 79, but this student also attended all my classes, participated in every class discussion, they're very good. And you know what? It's okay. I'm going to give them that A, or better yet, I'm not going to fail them. I'm actually going to give them that D. That is per the instructor's discretion. So, tip number 1, it is a thin line between A and B and D and F. I hope I have made that point very clear. Take advantage of that, okay? Tip number 2, know what you don't know. What do I mean by that? Know what you don't know. Hint. Every topic you covered the very last 3 weeks, 4 weeks of the semester, which you haven't been tested on, probably has a very high probability of showing up on the final exams. And more so, maybe 75% of what you covered within the last 3 or 4 weeks is what is going to show up on your final exams. That is what you don't know. So you got to identify what is it that you don't know and focus on that. Additionally, there's probably this one problem that has showed up every test, every exams. Maybe some classes have 3 exams, some have 4. And the instructor wants to make sure that you all understand that problem. Yet, students probably don't get it even though it showed itself up 2-3 times. Guess what? It is probably going to show up on your finals as well. Know what you don't know so you can study that. You also have to trust that what you know is still in here. Focus on the areas that sometimes we feel very uncomfortable with, because that is what is going to show up on your final exams. Most exams are also comprehensive, meaning most instructors don't care about any exams that you've done in the past. Now the final is when you're telling them that you understand everything or most of the concept that was covered in the class. So, tip number 2, know what you don't know. My tip number 3, aim high so when you fall, you don't fall too low. Aim high so when you fall, you don't fall too low. Getting into the finals, now students have spreadsheets or different ways of calculating. For those of you using Canvas, instructors are putting your grades in there, so automatically it calculates what your grades are to this point as you're getting ready for the finals. So we all know. And students will say, you know what, all I need is 20 points on the finals to get a C. All I need is 30 points to get a B. So that's how we gauge how we are going to get ready for the final. And my advice to you is this: aim high so when you fall, you don't fall too low. It's not a matter of what you need to get a C to pass the class or to get a B. Aim for an A. Pretend like this is it. Pretend like there's nothing happened. Maybe your grade is 70, 80. Forget that grade. You're focusing on the final. Aim high. So if you don't get an A, you just fall to a B. And if you don't get to this B, you fall to a C. If you don't aim high, if your intention is just to pass the class, and guess what? You don't get a C, you are probably failing that class. My tip number 3, aim high so you don't fall too low. Tip number 4, be very rested before the exams. I know it's very, very hard. I've told students over the years, over the past 20 years, when I'm getting my students ready for the finals. The reason we tend to think, oh, we have panic attacks during our final exams. It could be because we are not rested. You have to have enough rest. Remember, this guy right here is not a machine where you plug things in and it takes off automatically, right? It's a time process. It needs rest. It functions better when it's very rested and it's also not overstressed or overloaded. Make sure you have enough, or you get enough rest before the final. You got to trust that what you know, your intelligence is, what you know is already there, and you'll be okay. Okay? So please be very, very rested before the final. And my last but not the least, if you know me, you probably know what this is. No cheating. No cheating on your finals. There is a psychological disadvantage for students who are preparing for the finals or any exams, but also have an ulterior motive of this is what I could do to gain an advantage. Now, I'm going to talk about this in 2 perspectives, 2 different areas. The first one is, usually, I tell my students to take some time of pray, trust that your intelligence is there and it will just naturally, come to fruition during your exams. The challenge is, how do you pray and then say, well, I'm also preparing, or I have something under my sleeve to cheat during the exams? That is the number 1 conflict of interest. How are you trusting God? Again, if you believe in praying, how are you doing that? And also thinking that, oh, God, I trust you, but just in case, let me have this on the side here to kind of help me. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay? Now, even if you don't believe or you don't have that spiritual aspect, of your life, and you're just preparing for the exams, you're studying really hard, you're getting ready for the exams, but yet you're thinking, you know what? Let me just pull this under my sleeve just in case. Psychologically, again, it's not even within the spiritual realm. Psychologically, your brain doesn't function that way. Your brain needs to be focused. So now you're having conflicting thoughts. The thought that says, I trust, I have studied, I know the material, I know the whatever I'm expected to know. And then the other part of your brain is saying, hey, by the way, you think you know, but you don't know. Everybody else is doing it. Let's do it. Now, this is for the finals. But once again, if you know me, you know cheating in the bigger picture does not help anyway in the long run. So what if you cheat and you pass this finals? Then what? You're going to the next semester having not known what it is that you need and might be a prerequisite for your class. So again, cheating is a no-no for me, and that is my top 5 as you get ready for the finals. I'm going to do another episode where I talk about being very careful as we wrap up the finals, what to do as you get ready for the next semester. But now, let's just focus on your finals. I'm going to go over my top 5 tips again. Number 1, it's a thin line between A and B and D and F. Take advantage of all the extra credit that comes your way in class participation or any last minute opportunity that your instructors provide you. Number 2, know what you don't know. Focus on the material that was covered the last 3 weeks as we get into the finals. Number 3, aim high so you don't fall too low. The strategy of this is what I need to get a C in the class, or this is what I need to get a B in the class doesn't help most of the time. Aim high, study hard, aim high so when you fall, you don't fall too low. Number 4, be very rested. Get enough rest before the final. The more you rest, the less stressed you are, the better you're going to do on your finals. And last, again, but not the least, my tip number 5 is do not cheat. It is too stressful. Psychologically, there is a disadvantage to that process of I'm going to cheat on this final because you're going to have conflicting thoughts. And what you don't want to do is within 2 hours or an hour, depending on how long your finals is going to be, having conflicting thoughts of, do I do this? Do I not do this? And your strategy the whole time is looking around, trying to see who's watching and who's not looking so you can pull stuff under your sleeve. That to me is too much work. Easier if you study for the material. I wish you all the best on your finals. I'm looking forward to the next episode where we wrap up the year and prepare for the next semester. I know you do well with flying colors during your finals. And as usual, do not drink beer. But my beer to you, more so for this finals, is balance, eat well. Talking about eating well, make sure you get something to eat before you go into the finals so your stomach is not growling during the finals, okay? So eat well, exercise. And by that exercise, once again, as we're getting ready for the finals, maybe just walking around, just something to get the blood flowing, to get you ready. And of course, relax and rest. See you on the next episode of Let's Talk Ed with Professor Chris.